So happy to be with you today, so happy. So we've been talking this month about inclusivity in the golden age. We're taking different ones of our core values and looking at them. And inclusivity is one of our very basic core values here because we are anchored in the awareness that we are all one, that there's only one thing happening anywhere and everywhere. It includes everyone, it includes everything. And so the topic today is welcoming it all, welcoming it all. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about Indra's net and the web of life, talking about how each of us is a connecting point in that net, a jewel in that net, and not only all of us human beings, but all beings everywhere and all things everywhere. There's nothing outside of the infinite, absolutely nothing. And so we're in that awareness that it's all one. It's so beautiful. So welcoming it all. When I spoke a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking about, the allness of it, how we affect the whole web, the whole net, by our actions, by our thoughts, by our emotions, that we affect all of life. And so it was about including everyone and everything. Today, what I want to talk about in welcoming it all is, can we be inclusive to every part of ourself? There's a whole community within each and every one of us. Can I be inclusive of everything? And thank you for the songs, Terry and Nancy, because they both work so beautifully with this. Can I be inclusive? Can I accept every part of myself fully and completely? Because what happens, as you all know, what happens is those parts of myself that I can't accept, that I haven't, that I repress, that I suppress because perhaps I just think they're too ugly to look at, or perhaps, what did I read in Pema Chodron recently? When I look at those things, I think I'm not even worthy to exist on the planet. That's the way she calls it. And perhaps we've all experienced those parts of ourselves. I've experienced that part of myself for sure, those parts that in the past I would rather not have looked at. And now I know a whole lot better than to avoid them, to repress them, to ignore them, because the important is that I look at every part of myself, all-inclusive beingness. So, I woke up this morning at 4:15. Oh joy! And couldn't go back to sleep again. And and some people, I'm very aware in this community, get up at that time all the time. I'm more of a 6:15 person. So I couldn't go back to sleep. So okay, what I do when I wake up during the middle of the night like that toward dawn is I meditate. And so I meditated for a long time. And it was such a blessing. It was such a blessing. Because when I wake up at that particular time, or even around 5, when I was in the convent, it was around 5, it's the world, it's like pre-dawn, it's like the world is brand new, it's like nothing else has happened yet during the day, and I just sink in. And it's so wonderful. I call it a blessing when I wake up at those times, because I just go within myself. And lots of times I don't even get out of bed because I'm just there, When you go to sleep at night and you're in the awareness of the infinite and you're knowing it as your life and you're grateful and you're just in that place of knowing the oneness, what my experience is, I wake up in that same consciousness. And then, at some point the world rushes in. However, and that's why I like to do meditation first and foremost, by the way, everybody, before the world rushes in. So what was happening this morning, I was reminded of what Greg Braden says in his book, The God Code. I'm not scientifically minded much, so I can't tell you all the logistics of how he got there. You can read that book, The God Code, if you want to know all the particulars about it. But encoded in our DNA are the words, God eternal in the body. God eternal in the body. And I was just being in that, just being in that awareness, being in that, God is my life. God is not just in me. God is who and what I am. God eternal in my DNA. God eternal in your DNA. It's encoded within each and every one of us. And so when I am in that place in consciousness, then when I look at the parts of myself that perhaps I don't like so much, when I'm in that consciousness, it's a whole different experience. Because that consciousness of absolutely knowing who and what we are, absolutely knowing, and I can't even begin to, I can't put it into words, but it's so powerful. It's so powerful. So when I am in that consciousness, I can look at anything that I might think is a mistake. All of them, you know, a lot of us can list a whole bunch of mistakes that we've made in our lives. I don't even do that anymore, because everything that I thought was a mistake is not a mistake, right? Everything that you thought was a mistake is not a mistake. What seemed to be a mistake was an opening for spirit, really, was an opening for the next stage of our soul's evolution, really. And so I bring that divine consciousness, and what I like to do when I meditate is bring that consciousness. First, I anchor in that consciousness, I center in that consciousness, and then, okay, what's going on right now? And lots of times it's fine, it's comfortable, and sometimes it is not comfortable. So the first question is, can I accept the discomfort that is there sometime? Can I just accept the discomfort and not have to say, why is this happening or what's this about? But can I accept that discomfort and just be with it? See, that's the real for me, that's the real meditation practice. And we're having meditation class in a few weeks. That's the real meditation practice, is to be able to be with whatever comes up. And to be with it, not in the sense of giving energy to it, but in the sense of the energy is anchored in this place within me that is all of me, really. That's even moving and shifting for me. That place in me that is all of me, that simply knows who I am, that knows the greatness of who I am, that knows when I see you, the greatness of who you are. You as the individualized expression of the One, as the individualized expression. You know, it's just so powerful. And it's a little bit challenging to talk this morning because I don't have words for a lot of what wants to be said. And so, so Leslie's like, well, then be quiet. Anyway, that was my projection, see? So what we know is any unhealed parts of ourselves. Do you want to share, Khalid, or were you just, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I caught that as an agreement, and then I thought maybe he has something, because sometimes people in here have things they want to share, so that's why I said that. Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so I just let myself get off track. So take a breath with me. Yeah. So when I am in that place of what I call divine awareness, I am seeing not with Joan's eyes. I am thinking not with Joan's mind, but I'm seeing and thinking with the eyes, with the mind of the infinite. What was it? Somewhere I heard recently somebody talking about the mind and saying that, well, you know, we're just human and our mind just, you know, does all kinds of crazy things, and that's just the nature of the mind. That's the nature of the human brain. That's the nature of the human mind. That's not the nature of our divine mind, and every single one of us has access to the divine mind. In fact, what Joel Goldsmith says, what Michael Beckwith says, what I've been saying for years, is that the real nature of our mind and the purpose of our mind is to be an avenue of awareness. To be an avenue of awareness, which means we can be aware and not have to buy into everything. I can be aware of things that are sad for me. I can be aware of something I might be angry about. I can be aware of something that I can't think of any other word right now, that I feel anxious about, that I feel anxious about. And I don't have to make a story out of them. Do you know what the mind does? The mind does this. We have feelings, and then the mind decides, the human mind, I will make up a story about this. So I might be feeling rejected, let's say. And so I'm aware that what I want to do is just be, okay, I'm aware that I'm feeling rejected right now. But what the mind does is the mind decides to make up a whole story. Oh, yes, that person did this, that, and the next thing. And therefore, yes, they rejected me. I might feel that I've been blindsided. I felt that a few years ago, actually, and later when I contemplated it, I realized there was not blindsiding going on. That was my perception. That wasn't even perhaps the intention of the person who did this. That was my perception. And because what we teach here is everything, it's all about us, right? It's all about us. It's all about our perception of what's happening, and our perception is generally, unless we are in that place of divine mind, our perception is generally based on the past and on human experiences in the past. Do you want to still live in the past? Does it serve you to still live in the past? I ask myself that. Does this serve me to still live in the past? Does it serve me to keep telling this story over and over and over again? Because that's what the mind does. It's like, well, you know, I'm just, maybe I had this idea that I'm just not very good at maybe I'm not a very good speaker, and the mind keeps saying it over and over and over, and pretty much I've created that for myself, right? So we can all look at every area of our lives. We can look at what's manifesting, and I don't say this to put a guilt trip on anybody, because it's the same for me too, and what I am manifesting is really a product of all of my old thinking, of all of my old perceptions up until now. That's why a lot of us might say, up until now, you know, because all things are possible. I don't know why I moved to speak this, but you know, I was wearing a boot because I had sprained my ankle, fractured my ankle. And, and the nurse, the podiatrist nurse said, well, this will take about 3 months to heal. As you can see, I'm not wearing the boot right now. That was about a month ago. And I said, well, I heal more quickly than that. Now, see, my brain might have said, but wait a minute, it takes everybody this long to heal. It's certainly going to take you, and at your age, it's certainly going to take that long for you to heal. No, I was just like, no, it's not going to take me that long to heal. So it's been it's been about 4 weeks, and the boot came off this week, and it's still a little bit swollen, but you know what? It feels absolutely fine. I don't have to sit like I was having to sit in the last few services, because my mind, I aligned my mind with divine mind, and in divine mind, all things are possible. All things are possible. This is a very different talk than I intended, so I apologize if anybody's disappointed. But anyway, in divine mind, all things are possible. Your mind is divine mind. We just need to open up, let go of, and it's really hard sometimes to let go of those cherished stories, isn't it? Some of us have grown up, you know. I come from an alcoholic family. My dad was an alcoholic. I told that story for years and years and years. I have to confess, sometimes I tell it as an illustration in a talk. However, it's not my story all the time now. You know, that my dad was a blessing in my life. His alcoholism made me grow in ways that perhaps I never would have grown. Can you say that about people in your life, you know? That was very difficult at the time. And yet, do you see the blessing in it? As Rumi's poem indicates. I love that poem. I've been waiting to use that poem for months now. Yay, it fits in this talk. You know, can I welcome every single thing that happens? Can I welcome every single thought? Can I welcome every single feeling? Perhaps feeling that are perhaps shame, blame, guilt, anger, frustration. Can I welcome it all? Can I just, instead of going to that place of, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm not supposed to be having these feelings and thoughts. No. We all have the feelings and thoughts. And so the kind and loving thing, can I be compassionate? Can I be inclusive to myself? Can I welcome everything, not just tolerate it, not just accept it? Can I welcome it all? Oh, thank you for coming. Because the reality is that everything is a blessing. And I would say everything is a messenger to us. All those years that I felt not enough, and believe me, a lot of years were spent feeling not enough. And it can still crop up sometimes, mind you. Do you ever find that? You've healed something and then, whoops, here it is again. Because there's just another layer to let go of, another layer to let go of. But all of those years served me in some particular way. They served me in some particular way. And so I'm here to tell you that everything in your life, every experience in your life, every part of your body serves you in a particular way. If there's an illness going on, if there's, like I was experiencing, and it's still a little swollen, but not going to stop me, you know, is there some kind of judgment about that? You see, what happens is we live in a world of polarity. I mean, there are polarities in the human experience, let's face it, you know. There is, you know, I can get in muddy water with this, but anyway, I'm going to just speak to it surfacely. There are things that look bad. There are crimes, you know. There are crimes, and they shouldn't be condoned. However, we don't ever want to judge, criticize, condemn the criminal himself or herself or their self. We don't want to do that. But what we want to do is we want to look at the world from a lens of non-duality. Non-duality. So yes, there's polarity in the human experience, and in spirit, in the world, in the realm that we live in, that I'm suggesting we live in, and that we bring to everything we do, in that realm, there is no dualism. There is no right and wrong, good or bad, perfect or imperfect, good or evil. You know, one of my favorite Rumi quote is, "Beyond all wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. Beyond all wrongdoing and right doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there." For years, I've had that on all my emails because it never gets old to me. I have to remind myself all the time, because in this world of appearances where our senses pull us into judgment, into criticism, into opinions, where the world pulls us, I want to bring a sense of oneness. I want to bring a sense of non-dualism, where I am so anchored, and this is still a work in progress, where I am so anchored in knowing oneness, in seeing you as the one, and that's easy. However, in seeing, here's where it gets difficult for me, in seeing some political figures as the one. And the reality is there's no one outside of the infinite, and everybody's doing their thing on their soul journey, and they're all here for us to grow, to unfold to our greatest yet to be. So can I not only welcome those thoughts, those feelings, those sensations, and those people? Can I not only welcome it all, but can I totally embrace it all? Can I embrace, I'm going back to myself now, can I embrace every single part of myself, no matter what? When I look in the mirror and I see that my face has changed quite a bit in the last 50 years, and I look in the mirror and see that the body has changed quite a bit. When I look in the mirror and all of society says that's not good, you got to take care of that, you know, you got to, whatever it is, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to improve yourself. Can I look in the mirror and go, man, this is the body of God, this is the face of God, this is the life of God, how beautiful is that? Can you do that? Can you look in the mirror and accept and embrace and welcome every part of yourself and every part of your life journey? Can you accept it all? That's what I mean by welcoming it all. It's like I don't want to discard anything. Now, I do want to practice awareness so that as I am aware of the feelings and the thoughts that are going on within me, as I'm aware of those things I don't like, I want to practice awareness, just behold them, witness consciousness. I just want to witness them. And you know what happens? More often than not, in fact, I can't think of a time it hasn't happened. As I'm simply witnessing, that particular thought or feeling passes through. You know why? Because you have brought the spaciousness of the divine, God eternal in the body. You have brought God eternal into the equation. You have brought light into the equation by simply witnessing, simply beholding. And I've noticed that over and over and over again. And as I work with clients and they work with the witnessing, it's amazing. It's kind of like if I didn't know better, I'd call it a miracle. It's not a miracle, it's just the way life works. It's just the way the consciousness works. Because when we're repressing, when we're upset, we're criticizing ourselves and so forth, when all of that is going on, can you see how we're constricting something within us? Can you see that? It's a constriction that happens. And when we're in that place of pure awareness, of divine consciousness, there is spaciousness, right? There's spaciousness. And all of that stuff, the shame, the anxiety, the anger, the fear, the whatever it is, the worry, whatever it is, all of that stuff simply passes through. It's like your consciousness is the sky, and all that stuff are clouds. And clouds always pass through. It takes longer sometimes for some than others, right? It takes longer sometimes, but it's powerful, and it's so affirming, and it's just so powerful. And it just brings me peace and joy, because I know that truly all things do pass. All of the stuff in this world passes, including those thoughts and emotions that I feel stuck in. It all passes. I've had that happen so many times in my life. You know, a lot of you know that my older daughter has been quite a challenge, and we have a great relationship now. Do we irritate each other still sometimes? Yes. And we have a wonderful relationship. And for years, my practice with her, when she would get abusive, not physically, but when she would get abusive in her language, and of course I had to act and do things, but the practice in me was to simply witness. Instead of, she would get so enraged, and originally I would be there right with her, you know, right there with her. I'd get enraged with her. I'd get upset with her. And then we'd have this thing going on. And then I learned about witness consciousness. As you can see, this was like almost 50 years ago. But then I learned about witness consciousness. And so what happened was I started to just behold what was going on. It was not easy. It was not easy. And what I realized, and then things would start getting better, but it took a long time. I had to keep practicing. And I consider her one of the greatest teachers in my life, because I got to practice with her. Got to practice. And so what I realized eventually was that what she was doing was bringing up the rage that was already within me. Got it? If it wasn't already within me, it wouldn't have been activated. You see? And so the way I look at it now is everything in my life, every experience, every disharmony in any relationship, if it happens, is really my challenge. It's not about the other person. It's never about the other person. Now, do other people contribute to it? Sure, of course. However, we have to look at our part and welcoming it all. Be willing. I had to be willing to look at the rage within myself. And then I had another daughter who was so easy and seemed to be full of light. And those of you who know my family know who they are, and you know all of this. And they're both beautiful and wonderful. And I was having a session with Reverend Michael once, and I said, you know, it's so weird that this is going on. And he said, because I'm the same mother of both of them, and what's happening here. This had followed many discussions as to why is this happening to me, of course. But anyway, what he said was really powerful, if this could help you with anything. He said, once you acknowledge the darkness within yourself, that's going to balance out. And he was absolutely right. I had to acknowledge the darkness, the rage, that part of myself that was not healed. And then it became more even. Their behaviors became more even. And the other daughter had her problems, you know. She became anorexic. There were all kinds of things with her. It just wasn't in the open. And so when I started to do my healing, their healing started happening too. You hear what I'm saying? And I use that simply as an example. And that can happen with anybody in your life, anybody, and with any situation. And so I invite you to witness. And it all came from witnessing, just witnessing. And then, of course, you know, as we witness something, we don't have to hang on to it. We can, you know, just let it go, and we can do our affirmative prayer as we're letting it go. But what a lot of people used to do, I think it's not so common now, what a lot of people used to do is stuff came up and they prayed it away. Have you ever had that experience? Stuff came up and they affirmed it away. That's not what you want to do. You want to let it serve its purpose. You want to be grateful for it. And yes, you want to affirm that instead of fear, I'm knowing the love of God is right here. Or instead of fear, I have faith in the infinite. Instead of anger and rage, I'm tapping into, I know that divine love is my very nature. Anger and rage and anxiety and worry and all of those qualities aren't our divine nature. And they're visitors in our guest house. We are a guest house. These visitors come, and we get to welcome them and say, wow, thank you. You're opening up a part of myself that perhaps I wouldn't have stepped into if you hadn't been here. Can we do that? And of course, sometimes it calls for self-forgiveness. For that self-forgiveness, and the self-forgiveness is about wrapping the arms of infinite love around whatever it is that's up. Compassion. A lot of us find it easier to be compassionate with others than with ourselves. Anybody here ever feel? I used to feel that way all the time, you know. And then I came to the realization that as I am more compassionate with myself, that then I also find a deeper place of compassion within my heart for other people. And so really and truly, working with ourselves, healing ourselves, and healing, by the way, in our teaching, is a revelation of truth. It's like, because what Ernest Holmes said is so true. There's nothing to be healed, really, because we are perfect beings. There's nothing to be healed, only truth or God to be revealed. That's the reality of it. Because essentially, and I want to leave you with this, essentially, you are a perfect being. There's nothing about you that isn't perfect. Nothing. You are perfection itself because you are pure spirit. God eternal in the body. God eternal in the flesh. God eternal in the emotional body. God eternal in the mental body. God eternal in every aspect of our being. You are that. And so when you come to your meditation, when stuff comes up, it is remembering that and witnessing from that point of view. You're a God being, witnessing this stuff that's here for your growth and transformation. How beautiful is that? So let your eyes be the eyes through which God sees. Your mind be the mind through which God operates. Your emotions being the emotional life, the feeling tone of the infinite. Pardon me. I guess that means it's time for me to stop. So, beloved beings, you are so beautiful, you are so magnificent, you are so awesome. Don't be afraid to look at that shadow side. Don't be afraid to give it welcome. You aren't going to magnify it. All you're going to do is open yourself up to a greater expression of light, of life, of love. Beautiful. Could somebody bring me my water, please? I don't think I'm going to make it through here with the prayer. All right. Thank you, Leslie. Okay, we're going to move into prayer now. So while I take a sip of water, I invite you to turn within.